All right, welcome those of you just hopping on. This is Marcy at Woodmark. We're going to get started with this call in just a minute or two. All right, welcome. This is Marcy at the Woodmark Group. We've got quite a handful of folks on the line, so I'm going to say we get started and pass it off to our co-chairs, Jamie Brown and Amy Trapp.
All right, thank you, Marcy, and hello, everybody. This is Jamie Brown in Atlanta, and I wanted to welcome you all to our third Woodmark CCC call for 2018. We have a great call planned for you today with some great speakers. First, you're going to hear from our new co-chair, Amy Trapp in St. Louis, for our Get to Know Me section, and then we're going to pass it over to Amy Stewart in Colorado, who's going to talk to us about some of their year-end strategies, or giving strategies. But before we get started, I wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. So first of all, today's call is being recorded. Let's all please remember to respect each other, and like Vegas, whatever's said on this call stays on this call. Let's be genuine about our challenges. Let's listen first. Try to be fully present and resist the urge to multitask. Let's make sure we share our airtime and celebrate each other. And before you make a comment or ask a question, if you could start with your name and hospital, that would be super helpful. And please, please, please do not put your phone on hold. A lot of us have music that plays, and I'm sure it's lovely, but we want to be able to hear each other, so let's not do that. And let's remember to put our phones on mute if you are not speaking. So we'll get started today first with introductions. I'm actually going to go through the list of hospitals, so I'll call out each hospital, and if you are from that hospital, please respond with your name, and let's do a little icebreaker question, and when you say your name, also say what your first concert was that you attended. So Children's Healthcare of Atlanta is up first, and so my name again is Jamie Brown, and my first concert I ever attended was the Grateful Dead. And if anybody's ever met me in person, that will make complete sense. So do we have anybody from Boston Children's? Alberta? Lori?
Oh. Hi, this is, so we've got a couple people in the room. This is Christy McMurray, and I've answered this question the last conference call, but thinking way back, my first concert would have been Sharon, Lois, and Bram. And so we got a couple other people in the room here.
It's Kate Wilson, and my first concert was Nickelback.
Hi, it's Utah, and I think my first concert was probably Celine Dion.
All right, Lori? Cincinnati? Nationwide? Dallas? Colorado?
Hi, it's Amy Stewart. My first concert was Corey Hart, the I Wear My Sunglasses at Night guy.
Ooh, that was a good one. Texas Children's? Riley? Children's Mercy.
Hi, this is Marlena Mason, and my first concert was New Kids on the Block. And this is
On the Block.
and my first concert was Britney Spears.
That's funny. New Kids on the Block came to visit our hospital, and of course the kids didn't know them, but the nurses went crazy.
Oh my God.
Arkansas. Los Angeles. Wisconsin. Minnesota. Montreal. Chalk. Lucille Packard. Philadelphia. Pittsburgh. Rady. Seattle. St. Louis.
This is Amy Trapp, and my first concert was Petra, which was a Christian rock band in my youth group.
Sick Kids.
Hey, it's Colin from the Major Gifts team. I think mine was Sting.
Ooh, that's a good one. BC Children's. And Children's National. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. And I didn't hear Mandy on the call, but I still want to take a moment before I introduce our first speaker to thank Mandy from Seattle. She led this cohort for, 3 or 4 years, I think, as a volunteer. She was a great leader with big shoes to fill, and I appreciate her hard work and dedication so much. But I know that she'll continue to be a wealth of knowledge for all of us. And I'm sure if she was on the call, she would say, please still reach out to me and ask any questions. So thank you to Mandy. And to fill her big shoes, we actually have our first speaker up, and that is Amy Trapp from St. Louis. She is my partner in crime and our newest co-chair, and she has already jumped right in and decided to speak first today to do our Get to Know Me portion of the call, which is something that we try to do each call so we can get to know each other better. So please help me welcome Amy Trapp. Go ahead, Amy.
Thank you, Jamie, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited to join Jamie as a co-chair for the Circle of Care cohort. And since I'm probably new to most of you, I wanted to share a little bit about myself. I joined St. Louis Children's Hospital in May of 2017 as the Foundation Gift Officer, dedicated to working with mid-level donors through the Circle of Commitment program. And you can see some pictures of my motley crew up on the screen. If we go on to the next slide, St. Louis Children's is working towards a $24 million goal this year, which is about a 25% increase over what we budgeted last year. We currently have about 36 staff members, 4 of which are gift officers. And when we look at our donor data, we have roughly 10,000 donors. 80% of those donors give under $250 annually, and 9% of our donors give $1,000 or more per year. For the Circle of Care level donors, Children's St. Louis is working with an average of about 160 donors, and we recognize and have identified that we're gaining around the same amount that we're losing year over year for the past couple of years. So lots of opportunity, right? So the next slide, the Circles of Commitment program was established in early 2000s and was based on the Circle of Caregiving program, where several levels or circles were created from 1,000 up to 10,000 and then 25,000 plus, very similar to the other programs for you all. And what I discovered shortly after joining the foundation was that although the foundation had been sending annual letters to our donors, what we hadn't been doing is providing those annual events and stewardship programs that our donors had come to expect. That had stopped taking place. So then around 2015 and 16, the foundation experienced a bit of a disruption with staff turnover. And because we're not a large staff, that resulted in some priority shifting, which left the Circles of Commitment and Circle of Care program without a leader and ultimately without a plan. So even though the foundation had not been spending time on the benefits of giving at certain levels, we did still retain some of our most loyal donors. And there are still donors who say, I'm going to make my circle gift. But what was glaringly clear is that there was a great potential and opportunity to re-engage our community. So following a gap in staffing for over a year, I felt it was a great time to evaluate our giving program and ask our donors what is meaningful to them. 2 questions in mind. Do we have the donor in the center of our plan? And is our brand aligned with our mission, which is to do what's right for kids? So on the next slide, what I've been doing with the help of a small team is we've brought together an internal stakeholder committee that consists of staff members from across our foundation departments. And we also re-engaged the foundation board's donor care committee to include members from various donor segments. Facilitating some feedback sessions with stakeholders, we asked them a couple of questions to help us understand what words or images they think of when they thought of St. Louis Children's and also childhood in general. And we then also shared high-level priorities of our hospital and foundation leadership. And they've identified talent, research, care, and community as 4 of our key pillars. And we asked our donors to rank them as to the areas according to their experience. And some key takeaways from these conversations included that locally, our competitors were a few pediatric care hospitals, but we were also competing for philanthropic support from some jewels of St. Louis, like the zoo, Washington University, which is incidentally our academic physician partner. I don't know if any of you have that similar quandary, Missouri Botanical Garden, and then Forest Park Forever. We also learned that for families with a personal experience at St. Louis, that they felt the medical team or the talent was assumed to be great, and it was the incredible experiences or the care that they had as a patient family that brought them to support our work. And so sometimes it was the relationships they forged with other patient families and recognized the need for better family support. And other examples were families who faced rare or even undiagnosed diseases and recognized that one of the biggest research organizations was right in their backyard. We noticed a visible excitement when donors talked about childhood and what St. Louis Children's Hospital helped provide to children. And some of the top words included imagination, silliness, celebrations, and discovery. Our board members wanted experiences that would help them tell their story to their families and friends and networks. And importantly, we heard sharing stories and impact, which I know Colin actually just posted an interesting story on Woodmark Exchange this week. So when we looked at our recent campaign and language, which recognized all donors as guardians of childhood, and armed with a circle of care guidelines and best practices I picked up from some of you on today's call, we recommended moving with a giving society that highlighted what it means to be a kid and tell the stories of all the ways St. Louis Children's Hospital helps kids be kids through donor support. So on the next slide, so where are we now? So I'm busy socializing the concept to current donors and boards for continued feedback. And some of the giving levels that have come out of this work are on the screen. Starting in 2019, instead of being a member of Circle of Care, they may be recognized as a leader of laughter or defender of dreams. We haven't quite decided on which names will go with which level, but what they will experience are invitations to engage with us in mission-driven and fun ways that help them understand our mission and ask them to stand alongside us as a guardian of childhood. If you want to go to the next slide. As for the end of the year campaign, so our annual giving manager, who's part of my small team, is working on a solicitation letter that will be personalized by some of our patients. Through Child Life Services staff, our kiddos will have a chance to draw and color on the letters that our donors receive. And as we were reviewing our list, we realized there were a number of top donors who had already given their annual gift, or the gift officer didn't want them to receive that end of year solicitation. So what we did was we created that small list, and instead these donors will receive a personalized letter with a picture included, like the ones on the screen that we've collected through Project Snap. And so I don't know if you all are familiar with Project Snap, but we've gotten some great artwork, and so we're going to send them so that they can experience and have some of the same experience with fun. On the next slide, so we'll launch the Giving Society reboot in 2019. And then among the ways our donors will hear from us includes a mailer that recognizes them as a member and shares impact and our commitment to them through this program. That'll be in February, as well as a donor celebration and a celebration of our 140th anniversary as a hospital in May. And there are other great things in store that I'm happy to share with folks if they wish to learn more. And I know I'm out of time, but a question I wanted to ask the group was about donor surveys. So if any of you have any suggestions or best practices, perhaps jot them down or share at the end of the call, or feel free to reach out to me. My contact info is on the screen, or you can reach me through Woodmark Exchange. So now that you know a little bit about me and what's keeping me up at night, I'd like to move us on to the meat of our call today, our knowledge showcase. So please welcome Amy Stewart, who will share with us some of Colorado's strategies for year-end giving. Amy, it's all yours.
Thank you, Amy. So I'm Amy from Children's Colorado. I've been our Circle of Care manager for about 8 years. And just to give some background, our Circle of Care program falls into annual giving. I'm also the director of annual giving here. And so we use Circle of Care as a recognition, a true recognition opportunity for our kind of our mid-level, we call them lead annual donors. It's something to strive for to get that recognition. We don't have public recognition below the $10,000 level. And we also use it as sort of a starting point for our major gift prospects and donors. In terms of my role with it, I do a lot of tracking and some strategy with our major gift team, looking at prospect lists and building strategies for solicitations. But a lot of what I do with them is just reminders of lapsed members and those sorts of things. And then I work with annual giving and our marketing team on creating mass solicitations that will help engage donors and kind of keep moving them up the pipeline. So the way that we approach our end of year strategies is first really looking at who our prospects are. So we can go to the first slide. And I'm a big fan of Dr. Seuss. So one of our big pieces is really understanding who our key prospects are at this point in the year. For us, it's those folks that we know well, including, and kind of a big focus right now is on our hospital leadership and our hospital and our foundation board members. We also look at our qualified prospects that are somewhere in the cultivation cycle. We really closely look at those that have a solicitation but we've not heard back from, so trying to close some gifts. And then we do a lot of review of our lapsed members. So we look at lapsed from current year and 1 year prior. And we also have an almost list that I start looking at in the summer, and those are folks who have given $5,000 to $1 below $10,000, and we start looking at who those people are and what opportunities might work for them. You can go to the next slide, please. After we kind of really have looked at our prospects, we really dive into what messages will resonate with each group. For those that are in Cultivate but have not yet received direct solicitations, it's a lot of focus on what the impact of giving is, and we have a big focus on the urgency, which sometimes is a difficult message when we're looking for things like unrestricted dollars, but we're getting a little bit creative that I'll talk about next with our Give Comfort and Joy end of year campaign in terms of trying to really press the urgency even of unrestricted gifts. For our lapsed members, again, it's focusing on the impact. We also are, our major gift team is working with those members who have been Circle of Care members in the past or multiple years in the past and talking with them about multi-year pledges. Again, to try to increase their giving in the major gift sense, but also make sure that they stay within our Circle of Care so we can continue to engage them. For hospital leadership and our boards, again, we're really talking a lot about multi-year pledges. For those groups, we often start with the multi-year pledge ask, and if they decline that, then we step back to an annual $10,000 level gift. One other group that we are working on are our grateful families, and during the end of the year especially, we have a few additional campaigns focused on Pediatric Nurses Week and honor a caregiver, that those go out to families of the hospital who many of them have not given before, but this is one of our ways to reach out to them. And we do see some larger gifts from grateful families at end of year. Then the last group we look at are almost members. So for those folks that are almost at that $10,000 level, we make sure that we include them if they're unassigned in all of our direct response and general marketing pieces. And then we also do some extra outreach at end of year personally, depending on kind of how close they are and what capacity. If we go to the next slide, we've got some examples of some of our end of year giving opportunities. So for the major gift folks that are assigned to prospect managers, most of those are getting one-on-one individual solicitations, but we do also provide a lot of online and creative campaign opportunities at end of year. And then for our unassigned donors, we have a lot of kind of big mass asks. So Give Comfort and Joy is the umbrella title and marketing strategy that goes over all of our outreach in November and December. So all of our direct mail pieces, our online campaigns, everything is branded with Give Comfort and Joy in those last 2 months. We do have, as part of that, 2 matching opportunities. One is through direct mail, and one is the last 2 days of the year. We have about a $100,000 matching gift. If we can raise $100,000 in those last 2 days online, we get a $100,000 match. That we've had for a couple of years, and it's been very successful. That, incidentally, is one of the best areas, one of our most successful areas to reach out to our almost circle of care people when they realize if they give an extra $1,000, it'll be matched. It's really a successful ask. We also have Pediatric Nurses Week. We have a medical staff giving campaign that happens around the same time, and an employee campaign particularly focused on our Southern Colorado team. We span the entire state, so it's geographically focused. We do participate in Giving Tuesday, but it's not a very popular day here in Colorado. More popular is something called Colorado Gives Day, and it's run by a local community foundation whose goal is to raise $1 million in one day for nonprofits. They last year raised over $15 million in that day. So it's very successful, but we do actively participate in that. There's a huge amount of press around it, and we raised almost $200,000 on that day. The other things that we focus on in terms of ways to give at the end of the year are, we have a couple specific tax credits, and we also reach out to donors who have given through stock before and do some specific outreach to those donors. We try to really kind of segment the messaging and the ways to give to the particular audience that we think it would resonate with. And really all of this, we can go to the next slide. All of this is a ton of advanced planning. So we're talking about end of year strategies, but as we all know, it's really difficult to implement those strategies or get any good response from them if we haven't really been building towards them all year long. So we at Colorado, we use the Children's Circle of Care brand on an annual basis, but we don't think of it as just an annual program. It really has to be ongoing. And we're really working towards building a culture of philanthropy throughout the hospital system and in the community to help with that idea that there is a lot of urgency at the holiday season, but this really, philanthropy is an ongoing need, and it's something we work towards year round. So I guess the last thing I would say is just in that kind of spirit of advanced thinking is to make sure that there is a consistent review of donor data and trying to get to know those mid-level donors and those that may have the capacity to give more throughout the year, because it makes the end of the year strategies and asking much, much easier. So I've included my contact information here. If you have any questions or you want to see specific examples of any of our campaigns or the Give Comfort and Joy information, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. And if you're ever in Colorado, give me a call and I'd be happy to give you a tour of our hospital.
Great. Thank you, Amy. We really appreciate your presentation. Does anyone have questions or thoughts for Amy? All right. I'm going to pass it back to the co-chairs.
Yep. Thank you guys. Thank you both, Amy, so much for sharing with us today. We really appreciate it. And I would like to open up the call to hear if we have some other shops that have some good strategies that they're using to upgrade their circle of care donors to get them above that 10K bump.
Jamie, this is Marlena.
Oh. No, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
It's a little bit better, but it's very faint. Are you talking? Oh,
Better?
a little bit. Are you talking directly into the speaker or into the mic?
Yes.
Oh, that's better. Yay.
Okay.
So who is this again?
Marlena Mason from Children's Mercy.
All right. Hi, Marlena.
Hi.
Go ahead.
So something that we did starting a couple of years ago, we used to just send a Circle of Care renewal letter, and that really, it was just asking people to renew, and it really didn't have a great response. So a couple of years ago, we also at the same time sent something called a wish list, which is to our direct response donors, and basically our year-end appeal. And what that is a list of our capital items that ranges from anything as low as probably like $25 up to something that could be considerably more than that, like to $25,000. So we combined doing this letter with our wish list. So the Circle of Care donors would get a personalized letter and that wish list, so they had more tangible items that they could relate to the giving. And so we saw a huge increase in reactivated donors and just donors in general that we never saw through that direct solicitation method. So we've continued that. And again, this year are doing the same thing, but are just basically refining it at this point. And we're fortunate to have a $250,000 corporate match this year. So we're pretty much starting everything on Giving Tuesday this year for those year-end mailings, and are hoping to see even more lifted response.
That's great, Marlena. Thank you so much for sharing. Does anybody else have any other tactics they want to share?
This is Christy at Alberta Children's. A couple of years ago, we added the option of a Children's Circle of Care table at our Christmas gala. And so that was an opportunity for people to make their Circle of Care gift of $10,000 plus an additional $3,000 for the table itself. So they were still being receipted for $10,000. So we had a little bit of uptake at that, and those were extra special tables and some extra benefits. But I think that's something that has enticed a few people to give at that level.
Thank you. That's a good one. We do that in Atlanta at our big black tie event, and it works well for us as well. Anybody else? And does anybody have any strategies or any questions for anybody that's shared theirs? All right. Well, then I thank everybody for great discussion, and I'm going to turn it over to Marcy, who's going to give us some Woodmark announcements.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it. All right, so a couple things. If you have not seen an email from us already, our new platform, Woodmark Exchange platform, is up and running, and we are inviting all of you to sign in, to sign up. You do have to sign in to create a new account, even if you were on our old platform, because they are completely separate providers or vendors. So, so our goal is to make it easy for you to get into and find who or what you're looking for quickly and intuitively. Woodmark Exchange, we will give you the knowledge you need when you need it. And each cohort has a space that makes it easy for you to find out when the next cohort call is happening. You'll be able to RSVP and add it to your calendar with one click. You'll be able to get a list of the members of the cohort. You'll be able to find the materials and tools that were referenced in your cohort meetings. You'll have the same ability to have a discussion with your colleagues, but the nice thing with this platform is that you will be able to respond to discussion threads via your Outlook inbox. So if you're sitting at your desk and an email comes in with the latest cohort discussion, you can respond directly without ever going into the platform itself. So if you have not received an email in your inbox today, you can shoot me an email at marcyp@thewoodmarkgroup.org. You can also contact Rana Pryor, Rana P at thewoodmarkgroup.org, and we can help you with that. I'm going to suggest first that you check with your senior associate because they do have the email in their inbox that they can forward and should be forwarding to their entire staff. So we look forward to seeing everyone on the new We platform. All right, and one more announcement, particularly for this Children's Circle of Care cohort. We have, so Woodmark Group offices are moving. And as we're going through all of our stuff and packing all of our stuff, we've come across all of this CCC swag that we have used in the past NALC events that we are no longer producing. So we have all this Children's Circle of Care swag that we'd love to be able to offer to you. We will ship it to you if you're interested. There's limited amounts of certain things, and then there's excessive amounts of other things. So I will plan to send an email out with a complete inventory of what we have in our shop. And it'll be first come, first serve. If there's anything that you see that you would like, just let us know and let us know how much you would want, and we'll send it on its way. All right, that is the Woodmark announcements on this end. I'm going to pass it over to Jamie and Amy for some final thoughts.
Okay, well, this is Amy. Just wanted to thank everyone for being on the call today. And Jamie and I did want to ask if there are any topics that you're wanting to hear strategies on. We'd love for you to, share those on the new exchange. So once you go out there and create that new profile, our next call will be Thursday, January 17th at 2 p.m. So mark your calendars now, but certainly you'll be getting more information as that date nears. And if there's no other questions or thoughts, since we're pretty early on our ending time, if there's nothing else, then we just want to thank you guys, and we'll see you next time. Okay.
All right.
Have a good one, guys.
Great call.
Good luck.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.